really it's kind of overwhelmed and overheated. And sometimes it can feel like overwhelming to think about how can I make a difference with fighting against the environmental challenges. So that's kind of my goal today, is to empower people to feel like we can make a difference. So my topic today is going to be journeying towards your purpose and how I've done that through my businesses. And maybe you can find ways to do that in your life as well. So a little bit about me: I'm an interior designer, as Steve told you. I got my bachelor degree here in Nashville at Watkins College. I started working in the field right away, so I've been in the field about 10 years. And after working with a few other designers, couldn't find anybody who was doing sustainable design like I wanted to. So I started my new firm in 2016, and we've been serving in the national area since then. I'm also a singer-songwriter, and took about a 7-year break from that while I was doing more design, but I've gotten back into that recently. And then I'm a real estate investor as well, which is something I kind of fell into by accident. Just buying and renovating and selling and then doing that again a few times over the last decade. So I have these 3 careers, which I've been kind of accepting as a way of life over the last couple of years. And I just want to encourage all of you who are having a hard time nailing down one career path. It's totally fine for me to, or 3. It's just a matter of balancing and getting support. So that's something kind of unique about how I work. With Modem Interiors, we do new construction, renovation, and furnishing projects. And some of my specialties, we've already talked about: sustainable design, feng shui, and investment properties. I've been with American Society of Interior Designers for about a decade as well. This group is amazing. I've had some fabulous here, some great speakers. And one of our speakers was Susan Ingalls from the Sustainable Furnishings Council, and they're a great resource for designers. And then Tennessee Real Estate Investors Association. So TWIG, I think, has really helped me to find my purpose, and that's a really important place to start. If you're in this room, I think we all are kind of aligned with our purpose, which is to support the environment. So the next question is, how can we make a difference with that purpose? So I think what I've learned over the last decade is that making a difference is really about leadership and leading with purpose. So how do we do that? Tennessee Women in Green is a great place to do that. If you haven't applied for the Seed Fund, I've been a Seed Fund recipient and got to travel to LA for the Dwell on Design trade show and home tours. So at a pivotal moment where I was really growing in my design career, I got exposure to a whole different vernacular of architecture and business owners in California. So if you're starting a business or in I really encourage you to take advantage of the Seed Fund. And you're in a great place to network as well. So everyone in this room is a woman and committed to sustainability. So just remain committed on your journey. So I'm going to just remain open and truthful today. I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly of my business journey, because it all builds together to create a thriving business. So I'm just going to kind of go over a few key milestones for me in my business journey and show you some pretty pictures while we're at it. The design work. Okay, so I think, raise your hand if you were a little kid and had this strong calling, you know what you wanted to do. Okay, so or even you have a hobby that you love. Everybody has something, right? So I want you throughout this presentation to think about that thing that lit you up when you were a little kid, and think about what you're doing now and how you could kind of weave those things together. So I'm hoping you get some ideas by the end. Okay, so when I was a little girl, there were signs that I was gonna be a designer. I would move my furniture around constantly. I actually remember drawing up a couple green home floor plans, which of course had to have a water slide. Had to have a laundry chute, painting murals on my wall, so. I never really thought I would become an artist like this, though. People would ask me in their twenties, I didn't think I was a visual artist. I was born in Clarksville, Tennessee, just north of here. So my first exposure to design was actually in the theater. My dad was a music teacher, so I would go to plays at the Roxy Theater. And I just remember the complete magic of the curtains drawing, and it was one location. And then they would close and there'd be this shuffle and they'd open again and you're like, what's going or something. So I try to bring that magic to design clients as well. It's really important to capture people's story. And then I grew up in Bozeman, Montana. My folks actually met at Yellowstone Park in the 70s, so they wanted to grow up out there. And that was just a huge influence on my environmental awareness. So just being in a place that wild, and being able to interact with nature and observe, I feel really fortunate to have that opportunity growing up. So I really, when I moved to Nashville, wanted to help open people's eyes to that experience and find ways to like bring that into people's homes, especially in the city. Sometimes it's hard to maintain that connection to nature and find that feeling of sanctuary of your own house. So that's really important to me. Got to do lots of fun outdoor stuff growing up out there, did some sports, and started singing and songwriting in high school. So then enter my young adulthood. So I call this age 18 to present. Really just getting a ton of life experience and growing a lot more. So I moved out of my hometown and dove into a pre-pharmacy degree, which was absolutely wrong. So I spent 3 years in undergrad, and by the end of it, just knew I was in the wrong place. I had started playing music at the same time as well, so I had this other interest of growing, and this other one diminishing. So after 3 years, I decided I needed to take a fresh start. So I moved to Nashville. I wanted to be close to songwriting and blues, and I came to this amazing town. Had a band for a while and ended up working in the hospitality business, restaurants. Another great chapter of my life where I just learned so much about working with other people, hospitality experience for guests coming into your restaurant, building my design education at Watkins at the same time, and also working through a bunch of innovation projects. So it can feel like you have these different interests that don't make sense together. And then 10 years down the road, you'll wake up and realize how they feed one another. And that's been kind of my experience. So if you're not sure what you want to do yet, just keep learning and growing. So after this massive collection of experience, I went through kind of a dark night of the soul period for the last 3 to 4 years. Which, you know, I kept my business going through it, but I was still waiting tables during COVID, so I was unemployed all of a sudden. And I really had to work through a lot of self-worth issues. I was basing all my worth on how much money I earned. So this was a huge shift for me mindset-wise. And I started meditating, and I started connecting more with myself and listening to what I wanted. And having that kind of spiritual journey, I guess you call it, just kind of working on your best self, I think is so important if you're a business owner to make that your #1 priority, because it'll help you make decisions with clarity. Then I lost my mom, and our family home, which as a designer, homes are important. I went through a divorce after that, lost another home, moved 3 times, and now I'm finally selling the home with my husband. So all these tough things have made me really strong. And I've had my best year yet as a designer the last 12 months after just pressing on. And I think what I've learned the most in the last few years is just balance is the key to everything. And I want to share this quote because it's so great. It's whatever you're meant to do, do it now because the conditions are always impossible. And that's what I've learned in the last few years is life is never going to give you the perfect moment. It's never going to be totally easy. So how can we do what we're meant to do now? This is like the juicy part of the presentation that I want to do. Because sometimes it feels impossible. So I think, first of all, it's really important to know your own why. As far as why you're pursuing sustainability and the environment. So for me, this is about just knowing your values. So my Montana upbringing and even my early years in Tennessee, spending time outside and just having that connection to nature, that's why I'm motivated for me. So know what your why is. Find ways to interconnect that with other people and look for win-win scenarios as much as you can. And then the how is something that you can always work on. So sustainability is kind of, we talk about it as this three-legged thing where there's people, planet, and then kind of the economic part of it. One thing I've learned through business is I went in with the environmental as my main focus, but as you're working in the community, you have to be able to balance the social equity with the money and the numbers as well. So if you're building a business, you want to be environmental, but you also have to open up to those other aspects that are required for any endeavor to be sustainable. So I think about this, you know, when I'm coming up with a proposal for a client, I have to meet them where they're at with their financial investments so that it's economically sustainable. But then we want to bring in all those positive environmental qualities and make sure that the trades that people we're hiring are being paid for. So you can apply those three main kind of legs of sustainability to whatever endeavor you're working on. But you can kind of revise your how always. It's not a set thing. So leading with purpose again is just weaving that purpose into your life. And really just practicing enjoyment. I think the more you can show excitement about what you're doing and share that energy with others, the more it's going to attract support and positive outcomes for you. So how does Motive Interiors weave our purpose into our business? I'm just going to give you a few examples. And are we good?
Yeah, you're good.
Well, it's okay. So we work with local trades a lot, designing custom pieces. So this is a little bar top we did with Goodwood, Nashville. And we incorporated stools from the sided company, the furniture company. We work with handymen, carpenters, painters, tile installers, and other trade professionals. So we even source a lot of local products. A lot of these books we got from Parnassus Books. So we really try to do local business a lot. This is a wallpaper we have installed for local trade. This is a recent library project we did. So we have actually 4 or 5 tradespeople that have been involved on this project. So we have painters, carpenters, solid surface countertop fabricators, an electrician, and the delivery company as well. So just working a lot with local people. We work with local mural artists. So this is a mural we did in the Airbnb. This is Feeling Good in Nashville. It's another mural artist. We do a lot of local art prints incorporated into our designs as well. And just really building out our vendors library, which we've been working on for 10 years, so. We vet all of our sources for sustainability before our clients do, so they don't need to worry about that. So we use a lot of natural materials. We work with vendors that are environmentally conscious as well. And then we also incorporate vintage and antique finds. I weave feng shui into my practice. I don't always tell clients I'm doing it, but it's just second nature at this point. So balance, harmonizing the 5 elements, balancing your yin and yang energy, and flow grid. Those are all important aspects. This is more pretty pictures. Yeah, this one's an Airbnb, this one's a private residence. So again, just being conscious of what you feel called to do and listening to that. That's kind of what consciousness means. And just finding ways to integrate your purpose with others and develop on yourself. Yeah, just a couple last thoughts. Enjoy the little things. You know, we're here temporarily and it's precious. So the mindset is just so people to success. And also just know your values and know your boundaries. I had a lot of people when I was first starting tell me that I would never be able to make money doing sustainable interior design in Nashville. So, and you know, you come up over the decade that has passed. In the beginning, there was not as much acceptance of sustainable design in Nashville. So I've had a lot of conversations over the years with people, and just being solid on your values and being able to share them with others respectfully and listen to their side of things. It's really, really key. And just knowing what your boundaries are. And that's something you learn over time, but I've had to develop stronger boundaries with business contracts and things like that. And there should be a third one on here, which is have an amazing support group like today. So it helped me when I was actually working for another designer who was really discouraging me from doing sustainable design. And I was coming to the TWIG meetings, and I knew that I was ready to actually going forward and start your business. So having a support group like TWIG is just so amazing. We're all really loving. So think about all that and ways you can lead with purpose. And I hope today was helpful and inspiring to you all. Thank you so much for having me.
Question was back to that the library, you know, looking at that and really where it's coming, but I'm a little confused. What part is sustainable in that?
Yeah, so there are a lot of different lenses to sustainability specific to interior design. So for us as designers, a lot of it goes to selections. So we're looking for non-toxic environmental selections. So for example, we used all of the 2 furniture pieces we had made new. These were made in North Carolina by a company that sources everything 500 miles for the framing. And they use all natural materials with non-toxic pieces and binders.
So they custom made this.
Yeah, so these chairs and the ottoman were custom made. But everything can be disassembled and either recycled or biodegradable at the end of its life cycle. So we think a lot about what happens to each item in its life cycle. That's one question we're asking as we're making choices. Natural materials, indoor air quality is a big one. So we used a non-VOC paint, for example, in the States, so there's no off-gassing at all. We used a natural stone for the countertops.
When you say natural,
It's marble. There are a lot of different kinds of natural stone. but this one's not. Light fixtures are trickier, but I use metal a lot. It's exciting. Yeah, and not every project can be 100% sustainable, but we try to get as much as we can. And a lot of that is in the bad choices. And the area road is 100% wall. A lot of floor companies.
Because I have no idea that if the chair, that he doesn't pay that cost.
Gosh, I have to look at those all, but
$1,000, maybe.
it's not. I feel like these were around.
1,800.
I think so. But these are like a lifetime investment piece, so they'll probably invest these on the and it's a nice durable, really cleanable platinum velvet. So that's gonna last a long time. Any questions?
So, I don't know how we started about you.
No, well, so I sub out a lot of subcontractors, so I have a CPA and I have a remote design system. And we're actually trying to expand out to those in Montana, so I have a part-time junior designer out there. So, yeah, like a part-time remote team and then a bunch of support, like social media support and stuff like that. And then they're really good and they're. Yeah, so I go to design markets a lot, and local art fairs a lot, galleries, and I'm always finding the local artists a lot to use. But I go to conferences or business and stuff like that. So we're always kind of investing a little bit in personal branding.
How do you get these vendors embedded in this?
Truly, yeah. So I did some additional training through the Sustainable Furnishings Council, which teaches you everything you can know about the furnishings industry. And then when we're looking at a new product, whether it's dining chairs or whatever, we're kind of assessing it for its individual sustainable value. And then we try to only work with furniture makers that are like-minded. So we have our few go-to companies that we've used a lot now over the years, and we have established relationships. And so we have kind of a curated collection of vendors that will continue to build our relationships. Makes a lot.
I have a question. So, like with green building, you have things like LEED certification that has specific criteria and categories and measurements and I know you're saying sustainable interiors is kind of a relatively new thing. So is there any set of guidelines you work by, or maybe you can be the one to create them?
Yeah, I think I just continue to build my knowledge in that area. And I'm not LEED certified because I've found that most homeowners don't want to invest maybe $220,000 to get LEED certified, and they could spend that on their home. So I actually don't recommend clients to do LEED certification for their home. I think it's a great program for big commercial buildings, makes more sense economically from that standpoint.
But I just wondered, is there something similar in?
Yeah, so
At
I
all.
do guidelines, so I follow them anyway. And then the additional training with the Sustainable Furnishings Council, and then when I got my degree, I did a concentration in sustainability. And I just kind of continue to do the education on it. Yeah. So, just kind of growing knowledge. Yeah.
It's kind of feedback on that. People being very interested on construction or reconstruction in solar, because I don't see a lot of residential solar.
Yeah, I do see more people retrofitting, especially during renovations. And it's I think some homeowners are. I think you have to get up to a certain level of custom home build to find homeowners that are ready to invest in that type of building. But there are builders that do it, and solar. Light solar, I mean, it's definitely available in the area. I think educating clients is really important. I think a lot of people don't even think about it. Right?
Do you think what the barrier would be cost to install on an existing?
Yeah.
Being able to move
I think again, just going back to those three legs of sustainability, the economic factors, the social factors. So time is another thing, that homeowners consider a lot, is how long will it take to do a renovation, how long will they be displaced from their home, so there's kind of a homeowner social aspect to think about here. I think it's all about the homeowner's awareness and motivation themselves. It's gotta come from the homeowner. So we really try to educate and encourage clients to invest in those types of things. But sometimes, you know, it's just not in their investment level, or they'd rather have more square footage. So it becomes a conversation and ongoing, obviously, between homeowners, builders, and designers. So I hope to encourage people to do more. So did that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
So you mentioned the first thing, renovating house. And the thing is, so you want to from the one that
Yeah, so we do try to use salvage items a lot. So a lot of our projects will be countertops will actually go to the towards yard and pick out the pieces. They've already been slab. So yeah, we kind of like these antique and vintage salvage stuff. A lot of it again is on the construction timeline. And just where the clients are.
Thank you, Anna. I love the spin on the purpose with like what you're doing, because Sue and I were just talking about how important it is to have that connection with yourself and the environment and your purpose before setting out to do some of these things. But kind of like piggybacking off what she was asking earlier, and I had a friend that I first learned about sustainable and not even necessarily interior design, but just the way that he was redoing his home was specifically targeting things that had chemicals in them that he was figuring out, like PFAS in your furniture, in your rugs, and then like in, you know, the paint on your walls, like what chemicals, just from your knowledge and like studying elite buildings and going to these conferences, like, could you kind of expand some of those things for us that you've learned that like wouldn't be common knowledge, but is so common in your home?
Yeah, so I actually have a PDF on my website that's how to remove toxins from your home in 10 easy steps. So check that out. I think it's very bottom, but yeah, a little PDF on that. Mattresses and what you're sleeping and on is a big one to look at. If there's one thing they want to do in your house, and investigate your mattress.
Even when you have like bamboo sheets on top of them?
I like to do silk pillowcases are really good for your nerves. Just natural vibes. It's funny, my college roommate was like, you spend more time in your bed than in your car, so invest in nice bed linens and. Other question? Thanks.
So as something that is maybe effective, like really think about. Yeah. Probably need to complicated as it doesn't have a big one, but these are most of the farm needs certified that they will promote their environment. Yeah, the practice of it. But that would be the law. Is it something?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I don't do as much work in commercial spaces, but as I was saying, a larger commercial building, when it's under construction phase, it has a little more budget to be building certain things. So it's starting to see more of that. going on in that. It's great.
I have a non-professional question, which is, when you think about sustainability in the context of living your day-to-day life, what does that look like to you? Like, what does it mean to you to live sustainably?
I think it just comes down to little choices, like using a reusable water bottle saves the same amount of plastic. Trying to compost food with them. Just doing what you can, I think, and talking about it to other people. Trying to support your friends on their sustainability. Social change is the most effective way to do things. Yes. Do what you can.
So, I'm just, that's what I remember, is really cool. Library. So, some people can say, hey, I want a library in my little house, and I don't even know what I want, and you kind of guide them, it's one thing, I like dark, maybe blue, and yeah, but it was fantastic. And also, you charge, well, get X amount of hours and, yeah, $100 an hour, whatever.
So what we do is a creative pursuit, but actually it's got quite a repeatable process to it. So we have a very clear process. It's through the concept phase, we're gathering all their information, getting on the same page with the visuals and the floor plan and investment. Then we go into the detail phase and we basically turn all those ideas into proposals by them. And then we go into the purchasing phase and we handle all that. So it's kind of a 3-phase process for these programs. We also offer virtual and in-person functional consultations, and we offer 2-hour consultations as well. So that's kind of our offerings, and then how we charge is we do a flat rate fee for the whole project, and then whatever you purchase through our firm is kind of a separate proposal, and that's all we do upfront. That into
Yeah, just one last question. On the one screen, you had the 5 elements.
Oh, yeah.
So what are the 5 elements?
Sure. So in nature, matter kind of goes through this cycle of elements. So it starts with fire, which is initially, which turns to ash, which is earth energy, which nourishes and turns into metal, which is nourishing to the water, which promotes growth, which is wood energy. So fire, metal, earth, water, wood. And every item in your home, like, expresses those elements. So obviously, if it's made of wood, it's going to be expressing the wood element. Water element is like black or wood with a flowy shape. Wood element is like vertical lines. So there are a lot of, basically there are the 5 elements, and then there are like ways you can express them visually, which I have a bunch of blogs about this on my website. But essentially, you balance those 5 elements in space. And it's really interesting because I can now walk really like, oh, it's see this element. And that's why you kind of look at certain spaces and they feel off, but you can't really put your finger on it. And like, it's probably because they're missing. Think about walking into one of those wood panel rooms where it's like all wood and you're just like overwhelmed, it's too much wood. But actually, the metal element offsets that. So if you were to kind of decorate this 5 metal elements, the space would feel more balanced. So that's an example of how we can go in and look at the existing space and pull in elements that it needs to feel more balanced.